What is up, Ravens Nation? Welcome back to Vlog Talk, your home for all things Baltimore Ravens football. Today we are discussing what the media said about the Baltimore Ravens this week. And for once, this is not going to be my normal rant because we actually have some really good segments that I want to show you guys. But before we get into that, if you're new to this channel and you're a Ravens fan, do me a huge favor, hit subscribe, like the video. We're trying to hit 2,000 subscribers before the end of the season. So if you could do that, I would genuinely appreciate it. Thank you all for doing that. Now, one thing I did really notice as I was trying to find clips for this video is there's not a ton of people talking about the Ravens this week. I get they're not playing in the premier matchup or one of them this week, and if you're not a Ravens or a Raiders fan, you know, it's kind of flying under the radar. But still, I thought there would be more being said about the Ravens, but I would be wrong. But I'm going to start out with a clip from Colin Cowherd talking about how underappreciated Lamar Jackson is. And look, Colin Cowherd is a guy who commonly gets clowned on, a lot of times for good reasons, I'm not going to lie to you, but this time he absolutely made so much sense, and for once I agreed with just about everything he said. It's about a 2-minute clip, so bear with me here, but I think you're going to watch it and probably agree, you know, if you're a Ravens fan, probably agree with most of what he said. So take a listen, and I will give a reaction after this.
The other quarterback that I truly believe is underrated, and I cannot for the life of me figure it out, is Lamar Jackson. So he's 20-1 against the NFC, meaning if you don't face him regularly, he's even better than Mahomes. If you don't face him regularly, there's nothing in the league like him. You can't prepare for him. Good teams last year. Detroit got blown out by him. San Francisco, nobody knows what to do with him. San Francisco controlled Aaron Rodgers. San Francisco against Lamar, they don't know what to do with him. Detroit couldn't figure him out. Lamar Jackson is 1-5 against Patrick Mahomes, who nobody beats. And that's my guess is, because he can't beat the king, people don't think he's good. MVP full first year as a starter. He's good in division, good against his rivals, toughest division in football, 16-7. But outside of Baltimore and NFL locker rooms, players love him. He doesn't get any respect. I mean, good God, folks, C.J. Stroud's really good. He is already universally accepted and loved. He's 10-6 or 11-6. What is he? I mean, but Colin, he's a runner. You guys love Cam Newton. Cam Newton never had back-to-back winning seasons. People defended Cam Newton until the day he retired. Michael Vick was loved. People loved watching Michael Vick. People defended Michael Vick. They don't with Lamar Jackson. Well, he's not very good in the pocket. I looked that up this morning. As a pocket passer last year, 102 passer rating, completed 68.5% of his throws. That's right up there with Matt Stafford. He's pretty good in the pocket. So I can't explain it. You defended Cam Newton. C.J. Stroud's already baked in. I mean, we love Burrow by about his fourth start. Kyler Murray was accepted by many until the video game stories came out. But Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson are doing things that are virtually impossible in the NFL. They're underrated at the glamour position.
Now, the only thing I really disagree with here is when he kind of lumps Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert in the same breath at the end. And no disrespect to Justin Herbert, but at this point, to me, they're on two different levels. Lamar Jackson is a proven winner, I know, but he hasn't won a Super Bowl, and he can't beat Patrick Mahomes. The dude wins games. That's what he does. And at this point, Justin Herbert is talented. I'm not denying that whatsoever, but he's just more of a stat machine. But he gets a pass because of incompetent coaching from Brandon Staley. So nobody really knocks him for that. But Lamar Jackson, as Colin Cowherd pointed out, has frankly dominated the league, 21 against the NFC, and has just struggled against the Chiefs and gets repeatedly doubted and dumped on by a lot of people. So it's really not the same, but there's really not a whole lot to add to what Colin said. Like, yes, Lamar Jackson is absolutely underappreciated, and quite frankly, I do not know why. My theory is that when Lamar Jackson entered the league, he was a rough passing prospect, and the Ravens utilized his dynamic playmaking ability with his legs, which is a one-of-one in the National Football League, especially in the quarterback position. Nobody does, or really maybe ever has done, aside from Michael Vick, and even then, you see people debating that all the time. But he is such a unique talent, and because he's had to develop into the passer he is today, and you heard him touch on that, saying that he has similar completion percentage as Matthew Stafford from the pocket, who I think is a tremendous quarterback, by the way. But I think because people saw early on in his career that he was such a dynamic athlete running the ball, and it's taken a few years to develop into a more consistent, better passer, that he's still just the guy that runs the ball. But if you're not, I guess, watching him all the time, that might be easy to miss. But looking at the stats themselves really disprove that, especially last year when they brought Todd Monken in to become more of a pass-friendly team, and he set record highs in, not just attempts, but completion percentage and passing yards and all this stuff. I mean, last year he completed almost 70% of his passes. I think it was 67.5%, if I'm not mistaken. So to sit here and say he can't throw the ball is really just ignorant at this point. Am I saying he is the number one passer in the league? No, I'm not saying he's the best passer in the league, but he is a highly underrated one. And combining that with his running ability makes him, like I've said, the second best quarterback in the league behind Patrick Mahomes, because in my opinion, you cannot say anybody's better than Patrick Mahomes at this point. To put anybody above Lamar Jackson, not named Patrick Mahomes, is ignorant, because what quarterback it has done what Lamar Jackson has done with the weapons around Lamar Jackson? Joe Burrow hasn't done it. Josh Allen hasn't done it. Okay, I don't want to. So to continue to say that really is just, in my opinion, a lazy argument. But I'm not going to continue to repeat all of that because you've heard it all. Moral of the story, I think Colin Cowherd did an amazing job. In my opinion, completely agree with Colin in this segment. Next up, we have Chris Canty on the Rich Eisen Show talking about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. This is about a minute and a half clip I'm going to play. And of course, he touched on the week one loss, and he touched a little bit about the AFC Championship game, and I think he brought up some really, really good points. So I want you guys to take a listen, and we'll talk about it in just a minute.
We've yet to see Lamar break through into a Super Bowl, despite having 2 MVPs under his belt now, including last year. What do you see maybe as a system function that's going on, or malfunction that's happening so far, Chris?
Earlier on in his career, I thought they put a lot on Lamar in terms of playmaking. They didn't necessarily give him a lot of weapons that can take some of the heavy lifting off of him. When it comes to what happened in the conference championship game last year, I think the Ravens just went through an identity crisis. Anytime you have, 16 runs and only, 8 or 9 of them coming from guys that weren't the quarterback, that's a problem. And Rich, the Baltimore Ravens, 3 of the last 5 years have led the league in rushing, including last year. So I think the Baltimore Ravens have to lean into their identity when it matters the most. That has to be their bread and butter. That's how they built the team. And quite honestly, when Baltimore has had high-end success, they've been able to run the football. Lamar Jackson being special is great, but that's not a plan. And I think a lot of the times the Ravens, because Lamar is so dynamic with the ball in his hands, they want to trust him in every single situation and give him every opportunity to impact the game. But sometimes when it comes to the best approach, it's about making sure that you can create opportunities for Lamar to have that big play by forcing the defense to defend something else other than number 8. And so I think that's the one thing that the Baltimore Ravens will be best served to remember as they move through this season. It's why I believe they went out and got Derrick Henry. I still don't understand why they got away from Derrick Henry early on in that game in Kansas City last Thursday night. You saw they had success in that first drive using him. I think they have to have the threat of the run, and it's not just about the production. It's sometimes just about the attempts in order to make sure that there are those opportunities for Lamar Jackson to be dynamic in the passing game.
First off, may I just say I co-sign everything he just said in that clip. I could not have said it any better myself, quite frankly. That has been such a major knock that I and probably a lot of other Ravens fans have had on the Ravens, is that they rely so heavily on Lamar Jackson because he is so good. But like he said, like Lamar Jackson being, dynamic is great, but that's not a plan. But for the Ravens, that has been the plan. It's like, well, we got number 8, so just put on your Superman cape and go save us, Lamar. That's not a plan when push comes to shove and crunch time comes. Lamar can pull out some big games, but like he referenced the AFC Championship game, they just completely lose. It's like they get away from everything that they do. They were the number 1 rushing team in the National Football League going into that game, and they ran it 6 times with their running backs. And I credit Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense. That's great. But at the end of the day, the Ravens totally got away from their identity and possibly cost them the game. Same thing in week 1 here. They start the game. Derrick Henry gets the ball 5 times in what was a very sloppy first drive, ends in a touchdown. And then after that, it's like, well, that's that. Okay, let's go back to just throwing the football. And you're like, the offensive line can't protect Lamar Jackson. He's running for his life. Why did you not just give Derrick Henry the ball and give him some carries? See what he can do. See if he can wear on that defense. And we saw the defense wear down at the end of that game. I said it many times. Derrick Henry should have touched the ball at least 20 times in that game, not 13. I don't understand why, and don't mistake this as I'm saying they shouldn't have got Derrick Henry, because I'm thrilled that Derrick Henry's there, but I don't know why you would go spend that much money to get a guy like Derrick Henry if you're not going to consistently hand him the football. It makes no sense to me. Not when you could have got a cheaper back or re-signed who you had last year, Gus Edwards, and possibly JK, and used that extra cap to upgrade your offensive line. Again, I'm glad they got Derrick Henry, and I'm not saying I wish they didn't. What I'm saying is, if you're not going to utilize him like you can and should, why did you even go sign him? To like decoy so Lamar can run? It doesn't make any sense to me. And that falls back on game planning and coaching, which we've had many, many gripes over. So I'm going to be interested to see what they do going forward. And then, of course, John Harbaugh comes out this week and says, well, giving Derrick Henry the ball 30 times isn't the plan. Well, John, nobody's asking you to give him the ball 30 times, but more than 13, Lamar should not be the leading rusher on this team when you have Derrick Henry in the backfield. Facts. That is a fact. He should not be leading the team in rushing again when Derrick Henry is in the backfield. So that's just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think. What did you think of these segments? As always, thank you for giving me just a few minutes of your day. I genuinely appreciate it. Hit subscribe, like the video, comment. It really helps grow the channel and get these videos in front of more and more Ravens fans as we look to blow up this channel this season. Thank you again, and I will see you all in the next video. Go Ravens!